I'm hoping you're all well. This time, I've been asked a few questions about what I feed my fry. So, obviously, because the fry that I have can range from anything from itty bitty 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 little eyelash baby fry to koi fry and all the sizes in between. And obviously, as they get older, they need bigger food. So I'm going to now, I thought it'd be a lot easier just to make a video on the types, some of the types of food that I feed. What I'm going to show you isn't all of them, but I'm going to show you the basics. The first ones I go to grab, the first ones I think of. I'm gonna go through those with you. So bear with me 1 second while I set up and grab out of my cupboard that's in another room, because I can't keep it in this room. I will go and grab those cultures for you and we will go through those. So bear with me, one tick. Okie dokie. Headphones are in the way, I apologise. What we have here is apple cider, it's apple cider. It's not a jar of pee, I promise. These are vinegar eels. These are tiny, 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 tiny little nematodes that live off of, it's one of the tiniest nematodes there are, and it is one of the smallest and easiest live food cultures you can have at home. Basically, all this is half apple cider vinegar, half water, and floating in there, because this is a fairly new culture, this one, but there's some apple. These particular little nematodes like to live in acidic conditions, and they feed off of the acidity within the liquid, and also they will feed off of the apple slice as well. So they're really, really simple to culture. When you first get a culture of apple cider vinegar eels, I'll correct myself. When you first get a culture, you set them up how I just said. So a jug, half apple cider vinegar, other half water, add in a couple of slices of apple, dump your culture in. You can literally feed the culture straight away if you wanted to. There will be thousands upon thousands in a little tiny baggie that you get. It doesn't seem like it's really worth the money, but trust me, there are thousands in there. And basically what you do then is your culture will be about ready, so they will keep reproducing on their own. There is no maintenance to this for ages. What basically happens is your culture then grows. Your culture will expand and be perfect for feeding out within about a month dogs will be perfect within about a month of you first culturing. And this particular one is only a few days old. My other ones have started to go a little bit manky, so hence why I've started to reculture. And after around 6 months' time, you can then easily, you'll have so many in here, you will not know what to do with them. So then what you can do then is either start new cultures from them, or just feed them out to whatever you've got. But they're really, really simple to keep. There's no effort behind them whatsoever. They are tiny, tiny, tiny. I'm going to see whether or not I can show you. So bear with, and I'll try and get you a little bit closer. So there you go. We're a little bit closer now. Can you see them all at the bottom of that apple slice? All those little tiny wiggly wormy things. They are apple cider. Or apple. Vinegar eels, sorry. I keep saying apple. It's because I'm looking at an apple. But yeah, can you see them as well? They will sit. Do I have a pointy thing? I have a pointy thing. Look. They will literally sit on the very surface of your liquid as well. I'll see what I'm going to do actually. I'm going to get some of these and I'm going to pop them under my microscope. Let's see what we can see under the microscope. But yeah, these are perfect for itty bitty bitty tiny little eyelash fry. Can you see them all? Look over here. My big finger in the way. You can see them all over here, look. And this culture is literally only 2 days old, and they are thriving already. They are so simple to keep. It is unbelievable. You just make the culture up, stick it on a shelf somewhere, and you don't want them in direct sunlight. Stick them on a shelf somewhere, in a cupboard somewhere, leave them alone, come back to it. Really, really simple. No effort whatsoever. So let's have a look and see what we can see under the microscope. Okay, and here is the vinegar eels under the microscope. See how tiny they are. Tiny, tiny little acidic living nematodes, which are perfect for itty bitty eyelash fry. Tiny. Okay, let's go to the next food I feed. Okay then. Right, let's set up our brine shrimp. So these are my 2 hatcheries. They're obviously on the wall, they're bolted. We've got the pot under there to catch said brine shrimp, but there obviously is none at the moment. So I'm going to take you through how I set up said brine shrimp. Again, this is my way of doing it. Everyone has their own way. But we're going to do this. Okay, so obviously these are dry at the moment. Oops. I'll plop that down. And I've got my spoon, which is about a tablespoon. So we're going to add in, what we want is about a good heat tablespoon worth of salt. I use the same salt as you would use for saltwater fish. So it's not just aquarium salt, it's marine salt. So we add in one of those. I use marine salt because I personally find that it's better. Marine salt's got more what is the word? It's got more nutrients in it. I personally think it's better. I personally get a better hatch rate out of using marine salt than what I do normal aquarium salt or rock salt. So, and then obviously we've got our brine shrimp eggs, or cysts, as they're actually known. So that was 1 teaspoon of, or a good heat teaspoon of salt. Again, marine salt, and I'm using a level scoop, which this works out to be half a teaspoon. So a level scoop of half a teaspoon of brine shrimp cysts, of which I store in the fridge if they're kept cold. And then what we've got here is in this bottle, is just normal tap water. It's not been dechlorinated, it's not been anything other than it's sat in this bottle. It's in obviously my fish room, so it's been brought up to room temp if you want, which helps speed up the hatch rate. So we fill this up to our little marker, which is 500. Glug, 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 glug. It goes. Bring that up to there. And then we put on said lid. Make sure that is on correctly. And we turn on the water, on the air. And I like to get a nice, good flow of air through it. Right, now these with me in this room, in this environment, the way I do it, the brine shrimp will be ready and hatched within just over 24 hours. So it won't be this time tomorrow, it will be a few hours after that. So generally I find that, obviously today it is a Wednesday evening I've set this up for. So by Friday, depending on the temp of the room, either it will be tomorrow evening, which will be Thursday evening, or Wednesday morning, this will be ready to go. And obviously I have my little hands dandy light. Let's turn it on, hopefully you can see a little bit better. So as you can see, look, that salt has virtually dissolved already into the water. Looks a bit glary, I apologise. So I'm trying to get it so you can see. It was probably better off beforehand. Yeah, it was. Okay, so there we go. And what I'll do is I run these alternately. Really, if I'm being honest, it would be nice if I had a third, possibly just underneath them on the wall. But I can run it just off too. It's not a problem. It only poses a problem if you end up with a failed hatch, which admittedly I haven't actually had a failed hatch rate for a long time now, since I've been using the marine salt, and two, since I've been leaving the water to sit to reach room temp. Seems to work better. Hang on, baby. Sorry, daughter is about to come into the room. To stop her, because that is the door. She's going to knock me out. Okay, so this one I will set up tomorrow. So that will be done, and hopefully we will click back and we can see how I harvest said brine shrimp for little bitty baby fish. So I will speak to you shortly. Okay, so as you can see, brine shrimp has changed colour. That's how you know when they've hatched. It will go that pinky, reddy colour. So we are now, or I'm now going to show you how I harvest the brine shrimp. So the first thing we need to do is turn off the air, which I will do like that. Super. And then we need a little light that goes on, because brine shrimp are attracted to light. So now what will happen is the little tiny microscopic baby brine shrimp, or BBS, will sink down and they'll be attracted to the light at the bottom. And then once they're all down there, and then they're collected, and then we open said tap. So I will pop back in a little while, because these do take some time. If you look carefully though, I don't know whether you can see. Hang on, let's get closer. Okay, so there we go. Closer look. See how close we can get. Let me see all the little brine shrimp. There we go, look. Let's try not to keep wobbling. So all those little wiggly squiggly things are brine shrimp. So what we're going to do now is, like I just said, we'll wait for them to come down and sink, and then I'll pop back and show you what I do with them next. Ta-da! Right, so as you can see now, if I move this away to there, you can see that the majority of the brine shrimp have now gone to the bottom. So what I'm going to do now is put them into said pot. Okay, so what we're going to do now is nice and simple, easy peasy. I'm just going to turn the valve and let that out. cloud's jammed. It happens. There you go. Gentle tap in the right direction. Right, so now, as you can see, we have it in here. Now, you can, this pot in particular came with a strainer that went on the top. I don't use it because I don't mind a little bit of salt being put in my tanks. So some people will strain the brine shrimp out. So then obviously you've got the salt water at the bottom and the brine at the top, and then they'll flip it over, put fresh water in, or you can use a spoon just to scrape it off. But I don't bother. I don't mind a little bit of salt going into my tanks. It's never bothered them before. It gets eaten immediately. It's never bothered them. So let's feed some brine shrimp. Okay, now just out of curiosity, ignore the date and the time at the bottom. This is not when it is being recorded. I'm showing you some brine shrimp under the microscope. And obviously, you know, the orange things are the brine shrimp, and the brown dots that you're seeing there are the unhatched eggs or cysts from the brine shrimp. Let's see if I can't just move it a bit. You got it. There you go. That's what brine shrimp look like under a microscope. You can see the little eyes. How cool is that? Just thought I'd show you out of interest, you know. It's me playing about with my microscope. It's good fun, this thing. I'm putting all sorts underneath it. Okay. And the next one we're going to talk about is now we're going into the realms of frozen food. So this is a pot of defrosted Cyclops. Okay, so all I do is I just take the however many cubes I'm going to feed out, pop it in a pot, and I allow it to defrost because obviously, because I'm feeding fryer, I want to be feeding minimal amounts over or throughout the day as many times as possible. This helps with the waste in the tank, and basically you don't get too much food waste or uneaten food sitting on the bottom of the tank, which is also why I like snails. Okay, so like I said, this is Cyclops, and Cyclops are one of the smallest freshwater copepods. So, I mean, obviously, because these are frozen, these are no longer living. But when you're dealing with live foods, this is the next best thing from it being live. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a little look at this underneath the microscope so you can get a better look and see what they look like. Okay, so not the best footage in the world again, because it's quite hard for me to show you anything on this microscope because obviously I'm looking through a screen into the camera lens. But this is what Cyclops would look like. Like I said, obviously not alive because, you know, it's frozen. But, again, these are freshwater copepods. So what I do is I tend to feed a little bit of live food. Oh, sorry. Tend to feed a little bit of live food and add this in gradually to the mix. And then we start teaching the fry to take non-moving food. This is the idea. Because obviously it's natural for fry to chomp down on moving food. It's a completely natural thing for them to do. So I find that they start taking non-live food a little bit easier if you mix it in at the same time. So yeah, that is frozen Cyclops. Okay, and the last, or one of the last frozen foods, or the last frozen food, sorry, we're going to go through today is frozen Daphnia. So same principle, I take out however many cubes I'm going to feed, I pop them in a pot, pop a little bit of water in there and allow them to defrost, and then disperse them throughout my fry tank. So the same principle as the Cyclops, but obviously different bug basically. Okay, and Daphnia are a platonic crustacean, so similar to all the other water bugs basically. So yeah. Okay, let's have a look at these underneath the microscope. Okay, so there they are under the microscope. So again, obviously they're not alive. They're deceased because obviously they've been frozen. I don't have a live culture of Daphnia at the moment. I haven't set one up this season. So, but there we go. There is the Daphnia. Okay. Let's move on. What else do I feed fry? Okie dokie. So, what else do I feed fry? We've gone through live food cultures. We've gone through some of the frozen foods, or my favourite types of frozen food. So now let's move on to like powdered food and things like that. So, I mean, for instance, you can buy powdered food like this, which is fairly small. It is literally, though, just a crushed up flake, basically. It's a high protein mix that manufacturers make that you can purchase. This particular one is Interpet brand. It's the grade 3, which is the only grade that they do that is actually, well, no, it might not be the only grade, but it's the first grade they do where it's actually this kind of food. Before this, grade 1 to 2 is liquid fry food, which I don't particularly like liquid fry food. I find that it can taint the water, pollute the water a little bit too quick, even for me. So the fact where you get anything go wrong at all, your water quality can disappear quite quickly. But there is a smaller version that I use that's not technically made for how I use it. So we're going to pop this back here so you can see the difference that I'm about to show you. This particular one is, let me put it around the right way, is Repashy. Now, it's not the cheapest food in the world, I will grant you. It's actually made to be for you to make into a gel food. So you would add this to some water. It contains gelatin in it. and then basically you leave it to set in the fridge, and then you can feed it out. You can either cut it into various sizes that you want, or you can place them in like little ice cube trays, that kind of thing. Completely up to you. I've actually found though that this works very, very well. Another breeder gave me this tip, that you can feed this just straight as it is, and it doesn't do fry any harm at all. Not even with the gelatine in it. I've done it, I've tried it, not had a problem. So for instance, if I pour a little bit out, obviously there are a few clumps, but can you see how much smaller of a grain that is? So if nearly threw it on the floor. That is literally used to get rid of some of the clumps. That's literally a powder. You physically couldn't get it any finer than that. I don't know whether it's going to, but yeah, it's literally a powder. Where obviously in comparison, I pick up to. Can you see the difference? No, not really. But you can see the difference here. Yeah, so that's a bigger grain. This is smaller. So I actually like feeding this one more than I do the actual fry food. So, which is an excellent idea he gave me, and it works very well. So this particular one is Spawn and Grow. So again, it's high protein. It's got all the vitamins and minerals and all the extras that they need to promote growth. I'm sure there may be, I don't know, there might be other manufacturers available for such thing, but I don't know one. So this is a favourite. This is what I will go to once I take them off of the live food cultures and start adding them to the frozen, and then they start taking that. I then also add this to the frozen as well, which then goes really well. So let's go for the next one. Okay, and here's the next one I use. This is a granule. It's a high protein granule. Now this obviously I use for depending on how big the fry will get. So for instance, depending on the size of the fish that you're actually producing. For instance, if this was a ram, an adult ram would take this no problem. An adult beta would take this no problem. So this might be a little bit too big for the juvenile stage, but they will obviously upgrade into this and then into adulthood. And then we can move on to like the bigger species. So for instance, like koi, I will feed this to young koi. So they've got, it's the next upgrade from almost the powdered. What else would I feed this to? Killifish. Obviously, killifish that they start off very, very small, but obviously some of them can get quite large, and killifish are well known for having quite big mouths. So this will go well for those as a juvenile. And other breeds, anything from your medium size upwards would be perfect for this. Okay, right, the next thing we're going to have a little chat about, it will only be a little chat, is just using a good quality food if you have any that you normally feed. So, for instance, you've got some free meal, high protein koi pellets here. You could literally, if you wanted to, stick this in a pestle and mortar or into a grinder and grind this up into whatever size you want. And you could go that way with it. There's no problem with that at all. I mean, obviously a free meal is is a good size for juvenile koi anyway. But if you was trying to feed something maybe a little bit younger, and you was, I don't know, so you'd run out, or you wanted to add this into a fry mix, you could actually just grind this down. You can do the same thing obviously with flake. I mean, you know, I wouldn't suggest that with koi, but with say like juvenile tropical fish or goldfish or something like that, you could also just crush up flake food in your fingers and push that down as well. So you can actually make your own fry food. You don't need to. Obviously, it's recommended that you buy the fry food for them because it contains the ingredients that fish is going to need on its growth period. But you can, on a pinch, if you wanted to, use adult food. Just, you know, check your protein levels, check that it's got a good balance of everything that it needs, and there's no serious pumping mechanism in there. But yeah, so that is what I feed newly hatched to juvenile fish and partly into adulthood. Obviously, that's not all the food I feed. Obviously, I have a few more frozen foods that I feed the adults, for instance, krill, things like that. Spirulina for the goldfish. There is other things that I do feed. This is not my whole entirety of the fish room or the ponds outside, but this is just a small selection of the foods that I tend to buy on a monthly basis and, you know, getting in trouble for. So on that note, I'm going to leave you now to ponder all this wonderful information that I put into your head. Absolutely not. And I'm going to say ta-ta, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.